Mr. Agnew. Mr. Agnew.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I'm not normally known as number one in this committee, so I will enjoy the privilege. Now, I've been a member of this European Parliament for over 3 years, and there's no doubt as you walk around the campus of Brussels, you get the feeling that this must be a very, very important place, and new buildings are requisitioned all the time, and there's a feeling, as you're part of it, that this couldn't possibly fail. But what are the electorate back in the member states making of all of this? Well, they're not very impressed. They're turning out in smaller and smaller numbers to vote for members of this European Parliament. This is their instinct. And in my country, United Kingdom, not only has there been a decline in turnout, but of those few people who do turn out, more and more of them vote for the UK Independence Party, who don't want anything to do with this place anyway. So you're left with a pretty small rump of support for this place. And it has to be said, Chairman, I know you don't like me saying it. Now, I feel, in view of that, there is no mandate for pan-European political parties. Where is the mandate? We've never had a referendum on the issue. It's quite a serious issue that we have these parties that cover 27 countries, very remote from certain member states. And if you look at what the voters are doing, as I've said, they're turning out in lower numbers at European Parliament elections, but they turn out in much bigger numbers in their own national elections. They know where power lies and where they want power to lie. Now, I am really worried about two things. One is money and the other is referendums. Now, as far as money goes, the UK is a net contributor to this organisation. We pump an enormous amount of money in. We are very unhappy that this money is going to funding political parties who may never be accepted in Britain, very extreme organisations, and yet we are putting money into these organisations. Not at all happy with that. The other thing I don't like about the money is that this idea of taxpayer funding. Our taxpayers in Britain don't fund any political parties. This is an alien idea to us, and yet we are expected to do it at European level. On referendums, on EU issues, this should be up to my countrymen to decide without any outside interference from political parties, so-called pan-political parties. They might not involve Britain, they probably wouldn't, coming in and interfering in our referendums. Now we go on to gender balance. I regard this actually as an insult to the electorate. There are more women amongst the electorate than there are men because they live longer. That's a statistical fact. If women were really concerned about this, they would turn out in huge numbers to make sure that women were voted in. But they don't do that. Women go into the booths and they vote for men. This is what they do. And yet they are told by some nanny state organisation, no, that doesn't count. No, there have got to be women in here. This is simply wrong. You must listen to the voice of the voter. It could even be regarded as discriminatory and refer to one of your courts. I find that rather amusing. And how much further down this line do you go? Should we say that the homosexual content of society should be represented pro rata? The left-handed ones? The red-haired ones? Or the green-eyed ones? How far do you go? Don't even start to go down this slippery slope. Respect the verdict of the voters. And finally, the future. Where are we going now? What's going to happen at these elections? You've seen, because of the euro crisis in Greece and elsewhere, the rise of extremist parties. That is the future, and we're going to see more of these parties coming forward at election time. The whole thing is very, very unhealthy, and I urge everyone to get out of it as soon as they can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Agnew.